So I was doing my lives this morning, and I'm so grateful. Look how lucky I am. I've was able to be in this beautiful space, and you'll see in the back there that as I was doing my lives, I was just in the room on the second floor. These seals started coming in, and I found them absolutely magnificent. And when I went to connect into what is seal energy. It's absolutely fascinating because seal energy started coming in for me for the last few weeks. And seals really are the representation of kind of like intuition and inner wisdom. And we're starting to get, asked to really connect to this in our lives and in our businesses. And seals are absolutely, if we start looking them as an animal, they are known for their fluid and effortless movement. They move between land and sea, so it shows the adaptability and the agility that they have as well. And that also could be a symbolism between the conscious and the unconscious as well. Seals also come in to encourage to like trust our instincts and our inner voice, and that's absolutely brilliant. They're also connected to emotional healing. Their playful nature really is the connection, to connecting into our inner child and our creativity. That also came up in the reading today as well, which is brilliant. Balance and adaptability, because they would live in these two worlds, the land and the sea. It's bringing in that balance between that spirituality and that physicality, that physical experience that we're having as well. It also symbolizes the importance of staying grounded as we move through, life's challenges. Protection and guardianship. This also came up in the session today, the live today. And in many traditions, seals are seen as protectors, and they symbolize almost kind of like a spiritual type of shielding that can represent, a guardian presence in our lives as well. And then again, joyful and playfulness, because that is where we tend to expand. And as I start stepping back into the corporate world, but with almost kind of like a conscious intention behind me stepping back into the corporate world, started looking at what does the seal represent in the context of, our career or our business. And it really is about encouraging more of kind of like fluid thinking, creates a space for like, and how what that looks like is really about creating a space for, brainstorming or, it's about non-linear problem solving. And this is why I've created an entire program based on looking at non-linear problem solving, looking at connecting to the Akashic records and accessing your Akashic intelligence to help you move through, or should we say, lead your team, swim through ideas before locking into one, really. It's about leading with empathy. So practicing active listening, things like that tend to help. Having an emotional awareness in leadership, when we have that, it tends to build trust and loyalty within our team, but not only that, within our suppliers and within our customers as well. Connecting into this energy in career and business is also about staying agile and responding, pivoting when we need to. And it's all about, diving for food. And sometimes success means changing and adapting direction pretty quickly and adapting to what is coming for you, right? Or at you. Influencing kind of like the joy and the work culture. So far, we're just driven to depletion these days. And nobody celebrates the little wins anymore because it's seen as, I don't know, pride or whatever it is. But it's so important to celebrate the little wins, the big ones. Any kind of wins is important. Encouraging humor at work and, allowing that room for creative expression is of utmost importance. Like a play culture often leads to like higher engagement, higher productivity, happier customers, and the bottom line as well. So honoring our intuition, I think that has been lost, or it's happened so unconsciously that I want to start bringing in this form of really looking at accessing your intuition consciously, asking the questions consciously, looking for the solutions consciously, learning to trust your gut when it comes to partnerships, timing, and collaboration, creative direction. So it's important to look at seal energy when looking at this, and I think this has been coming in for a greater collective as well. So practical ways that this looks like is really about kind of like you could do things like daily check-ins, taking a few minutes each day to checking in with yourself, checking in how are you feeling without judgment, without expectation, from a place of absolute kind of like curiosity. Journaling is a great way to allow, our thoughts to flow like water, so to speak. This helps you to process our emotions and to tap into our intuition as well, which is important. So strengthening our intuition, meditation, we can use the energy of the seal energy to connect into it, or visualize yourself as, or connecting in, or becoming the seal gliding through water, allowing it to really guide us into a deeper awareness could be one way of doing that. Checking in gut decisions. So before making a choice, it's about asking to like pause, wait, ask, what does my intuition say? What is the intention here? Is it in alignment with my passion, my purpose? What is it all about, right? Inviting in playfulness and creativity is another way, a practical way of doing it. So schedule unstructured time is a great way to do this. Let yourself explore, doodle, dance, daydream, without any kind of like goal, in the space of just allowing what opens up to open up. Turn your tasks into the challenge, or like mini games, so that you can keep things light and engaging. I mean, and I know so many, like, I don't, my admin is kind of like, I need to try and make admin fun in order to help that time move really quickly. Otherwise it becomes really, really kind of like a drag, and which takes even longer. Allowing more laughter at work. Laughter is such a beautiful emotional release that absolutely helps us to really de-stress and release anxiety, which is, it's so important. It's okay to be silly. It's okay to laugh. It's okay to share a joke, or just let yourself be goofy. Laugh at yourself. We're forgetting how to laugh at ourselves. It's taking ourselves so seriously these days. It's all of that is healing as well. So a balance between the dual world, so which is very much still energy between land and sea, and that is all about bringing in kind of like creating that work-life balance, creating a beautiful, clear transition between work and going home, so that we don't take that with us. Lighting a candle to end your day, or, just taking a couple of deep breaths and stepping into who you want to become when you're at home is important. The same as when you start work, is like stepping out of that home mode and into it. And we're going to get to the stage where it doesn't matter where you are. You don't have to fit into, these roles or whatever it is. You can just be authentically you always, which is interesting. Grounding practices, yoga, qigong, walking barefoot, mindful breathing can help us stay rooted in what it is that we're, wanting to do. Setting boundaries in the sense of kind of like seals move between land and sea, and they learn when to dive in and when to pull back. And that's important when it comes into running your business as well. So and sometimes we get a little bit lost, especially in these days where the world is so kind of like we don't know what tomorrow will bring, that Akashic intelligence aspect and accessing the blueprint of your life, of your business, become absolutely imperative. I know that I was super, super busy during COVID because there was all of that uncertainty and guidance. What if you could connect into your natural tool to guide yourself, connecting into your own blueprint and getting your direction? This is what I'm so excited that I get to teach this as to everybody. I'm super excited about that. So the other thing that seals tend to remind us is to embody the resilience and the adaptability. So, cold exposure. So, splashing cold water on us helps to build that physical, mental resilience. Just like icy water baths tend to help us as well. reflect on past wins, remind yourself of the times you adapted, you thrived, your inner seal work. This is, embody the seal energy, become the seal when you're doing these meditations. And the one thing that I love about seals is their curiosity. They're always looking at what's going on over there, and looking at what can I learn from this? How can I adapt? How can we do things better? What's working? And what can we improve on is absolutely important as well. So what challenges can we anticipate when we're adopting these type of qualities? Emotional vulnerability. It's quite scary. I've just done a weekend where we did looking at kind of like trauma, and I'll look at enterprise trauma or corporate trauma as well, and that's for another video too. And I've also been looking at ancestral lineage and healing the lineage as well. And there's the challenge of turning our emotions and intuition, like it can be overwhelming when we bring that lens internally, especially if we've been compartmentalizing kind of like logic mode, home mode. So how to handle it, start small. Acknowledge your emotions, allow them, sit with them without judgment. It's checking into yourself, see how are you doing. Think of it as learning a new language. It's kind of like it's an emotional language, that checking in with us. We hit so much that automatic that we forget to check in with ourselves, which is we need to start doing that. Before we answer yes automatically, we need to start saying, hang on, let me check in and then I'll get back to you. That's an important skill as well. A lot of the times we find this resisting, the playfulness, the joy, the fun, because life needs to be serious, because we are doing serious jobs. And I'm not denying that we're not doing serious jobs, but it's in high pressure environments, playfulness might be seen as unproductive or even frivolous sometimes, but it's reframing it. It is actually a creative tool. When we're in that space of expansion, when we're playing, we're creating, right? Share the benefits of the lightness, share the benefits of the innovation with your team and your peers. And it's joy is contagious, lead by example, right? It creates it like it brings in it's like lightning. It cracks that tension in the air, right? That laughter. It's a beautiful emotional release, right? Balancing the dual worlds, the challenge. So kind of like seals navigating land and sea, you might start to struggle to balance your inner world and your external demands. And I think this is something that we're constantly working on, especially in fast-paced careers. There's always that, how do I do this? And sometimes we could create a ritual to help us, transition between these roles, as I was saying earlier, grounding ourselves with breath work, nature, just taking off our shoes and just connecting into the ground for like, 3 seconds, between the meeting or whatever it may be. There's a need to trust your intuition over logic. And the challenge is that especially in data-driven spaces, intuitive decisions can feel risky. They can be, we're afraid to talk about them because they might be dismissed over others. Intuition is the starting point, right? That's where brainstorming comes in. It's all intuition. We're all scanning, looking at the possibilities, the probabilities, the ideas, the timelines. That's what that is all about as well. So using your intuition as a starting point and then bring it up to logic. So how can I, intuition is expansive. It's in your heart. Your logic is in your mind. It's about bringing them in together over time. And we'll start to building confidence within in a compass as well, as others will too. So staying resilient without becoming hardened. Don't close off your heart. It's a protective medicine. Yes, it is medicine. It's a protective mechanism. So resilience can sometimes morph into more of kind of like an emotional numbing, and over functioning. It's easier to focus outside of ourselves than it is to have a look at inside of us, kind of a thing. So, and a lot of the times we're quite fixed. Things need to be one way or another. This is, a control mechanism that is really very much a trauma response that is there. So Let resistance be about flexibility, not about toughness. Allow yourself to feel. Rest and recover is important, just like SEALs do. Do that deep dive into what needs to be done, right? Another one is cultural or workplace misalignment. Not every environment really values emotional intelligence, adaptability, or creativity. If this is something that you value, you need to change your environment, okay? Or you can be a quiet catalyst, model the qualities that you want to see. And if the environment that you're in truly stifles your growth, it might be time to jump ship, swim towards new waters. Yeah, it's not for you. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that there's any judgment. It just means that there isn't there, right? And all of these things can really start to improve your career. So, emotional intelligence in actions, about leading with empathy in meetings, it helps, team interactions, it helps pause, consider how others might be, receiving the information. It's not just about what they're saying, it's about reading that room really, really well. Conflict resolution, so using the calm, that emotionally attuned communication to de-escalate, situations and tension, stress, and that starts to really build trust. Um, Client relations, tune into the subtle cues, tone, body language, the hesitation. Ask, don't be afraid to ask, what is the hesitation? Do it as a space of understanding the client's needs better, to build that rapport. We can't support others if we don't know what the needs are or how to support. Intuition is a strategic tool. It helps with decision making, especially when we're in uncertain. Akashic intelligence helps us to look at the blueprint of our business, of our lives, and really start to taper in that, you know, um, checking in with which is the direction of my highest potential, right? When we're looking at intuition, when we're hiring people, when we're taking in suppliers, when we're taking in clients, it's important to trust our instincts about people. And very often there is a contract, a deal, an agreement in the Akashic records, in your blueprint with these people, with these suppliers, right? Both from your part and on their part as well. It's not just about that salary that is there, right? So when you're hiring, for different aspects of your business, it picks up, you know, the thing that logic misses, or the nuances that we don't understand, or that uncomfortableness. We need to trust that, right? Intuition is amazing for creative direction. Those little intuitive nudges, as I mentioned in the brainstorming, it's absolutely, it's brilliant. Playfulness fuels that innovation, right? Inject creativity into problem solving. Use mind maps, role play, what if scenarios, explore new angles, look at it from a different perspective. Ask, how can we do this better? How can we do this consciously? How can we do these things that 7 generations down the line, that we've created a beautiful foundation for this as well, right? Celebrating the small ones, however you do that, that brings joy into the team. Those milestones are important, because the more we celebrate, the more joyful we are about it, the more of that we will bring into our lives. It's brilliant about bringing in balance and adaptability. So flexible workflows, kind of like embrace that hybrid schedule, or task batching to flow between focus and rest. It's important knowing when to dive deep to the surface and when to come up for air. We need to start protecting our energy and start focusing, where do we place our energy as well, which is important. So Balance and adaptability help with, cross-functional skills. So like navigating those two scenarios, land and sea, develop the versatility across roles and departments. It's absolutely beautiful that we can work through things like that as well. Reframe setbacks, self-care is a strategy. So prioritize self-care, prioritize reflection, and recovery is important. Resilience is sustained, it's not sprinted, and SEAL teaches us to stay curious. When things shift, what's the opportunity here? How is this working for us? Instead of resisting the change, right? See challenges as waves to ride, not as walls to crash into. And that's very, very important to have a look at that as well. One of the questions that came up during today's requests was, how does SEAL, if you're already in a career, if you're already in a department, have a look at that, adapt some of those things to that as well, because that would be brilliant. Hope this is helpful. Have an amazing day, and I'll speak to you all soon.